If you're navigating any kind of change, be it career, family, health, or identity, this is for you. If you're new here, my name is Shelby, and I recently stepped outside of corporate life into this new season of becoming. And my life has changed so much over the past few months that I've been reflecting on what has actually helped me to feel more grounded from the inside out. For a long time, my days were built around meetings, decisions, and expectations. And even though it was intense at times, there was rhythm, and there was structure, and there was identity. And when all of that shifted, what surprised me the most wasn't the change itself. I was actually longing for a career change. What surprised me was how unsteady I felt without the structure or the identity that I had relied on for so long. So instead of trying to rebuild everything all at once, I focused on 3 anchors: my mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Not in a dramatic way, not in a new year, new me way, just quietly, intentionally. So let's talk about what's helping me to build steadiness. So let's start with the mental side, because that's where I tend to live. I'm analytical by nature, which means I can live in my head longer than is helpful. So the first thing that I had to do was learn how to quiet the noise. Not to solve everything, not to figure out the entire plan, just to regulate. Lately, the things that are helping me to reset my nervous system are simple, repeatable practices. First, blocking time in the morning to meditate or to journal. Getting everything that's swirling in my head and putting it down on paper means that I don't have to hold it on my chest all day. If journaling isn't your thing, or even if it is, I found that using AI as a thinking partner has been very helpful. Sometimes I'll copy and paste a scattered thought and ask it to help clarify what it is I'm actually trying to say. Not because it has the answers, but because it helps me to slow down and to reflect. And if you're still figuring out how to use AI, this is a simple place to start. Not for productivity, but for clarity. The second thing is prioritizing tasks based on my energy level. Single tasking is perfectly fine. One thing at a time instead of pretending that I can juggle everything all at once. And the third thing is setting a thought cutoff at night. Now this one can take some practice, especially if you're used to working around the clock. But setting boundaries around your thoughts actually builds structure. No big decisions, no heavy self-talk after a certain time. You don't have to solve everything all in your mind. Sometimes giving your brain a place to put things on paper, in a list, in a prayer is enough to help you to feel steady. The next anchor is physical. I've noticed that when I move my body, even just a little, everything else feels more manageable. It doesn't have to be intense, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And if you already have a go-to activity, continue to do that. Consistency matters more than the specific workout. For me, this season has included Legree for strength and structure, restorative yoga to let my body soften and release, and walking, especially outside, to actually process what I'm feeling instead of just thinking about it. If you're not familiar with Legree, it's similar to Pilates, but performed on a megaformer. Slow, controlled movements that build strength and endurance. Whatever activity you choose, start with something accessible. 10 minutes of stretching, 15 minutes around the block, 1 class a week. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs a little care and consistency. Caring for my mind and body created space for me to focus on something deeper, emotional steadiness. And this may be the hardest part of all when life around you is shifting. Having someone to talk to, a friend, a therapist, a mentor, can be incredibly helpful. But there are also ideas and feelings that need space before we say them out loud. And this is where private reflection becomes important. One tool that supported me in this space is using AI a little differently than I use for mental clarity. Here, it's not about organizing thoughts, but about holding them gently. Sometimes I'll paste a journal entry and describe how I'm feeling and ask, what themes are you seeing? Or how can I turn this into a compassionate reminder? It doesn't replace real people, but it gives me space to sort emotions and find language before I share them more broadly. And if helpful, here are a few ways that I phrase things when I'm trying to work through a season of change. The key is giving it context. The more honest you are about what you're feeling, the more grounded the responses become. Emotional steadiness doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means being willing to sit with yourself honestly. I don't have everything figured out, but I do know this. When life around you shifts, caring for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being can become your anchor. Start small. One shift mentally, one way to move physically, one safe place to put your feelings emotionally. Not perfect, just present, and that feels like progress. If you're navigating a season of change, I would love to know what's anchoring you right now. And if you found this helpful, I hope you will subscribe and continue with me on this journey. I'll see you in the next one.